and I went and got the results, and I was very very surprised. I had no idea what to say or do or anything, and the lady took my hand and said, "Your test is positive," and I said, "Oh, okay. Well, what do I do now?"
Well, I was a lot like Marla, because I think if I'd thought that there was any chance of me being positive, I probably wouldn't have gone and gotten tested either. Because I had gotten a phone call from an old boyfriend at work one day, and he was asking me if I'd ever had hepatitis, and I said no, and then he told me that herpes was a form of HIV, and I contracted herpes like in 1983, and those are the only two sexually transmitted diseases I've had, the two incurable ones. And so that planted the seed, and I knew about the 6-month period, and I hadn't been with anybody in about 8 or 9 months, so I knew that when I went and got my negative test results, I would know for sure it was negative. And I went in and got tested, and she told me I was positive, and I just couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to die, and you know, that was almost 5 years ago now. Well, it was 4 years ago. I just had my anniversary of my diagnosis. And I immediately went and got another test. I was just looking for love, you know, and I was so desperate to be loved, I didn't think about safe sex. I thought that you could tell if somebody was sick, and the guy I got it from looked really healthy.
If you look at people and you say, well, you got HIV because you're a hemophiliac and somehow you're different than someone who's a gay man or someone who's inadvertent exposure through occupational exposure, like Peggy being a nurse, I think the assumption is that those people who get AIDS through sexual means are somehow in a different category than people who get it by a different means. And I think there are no innocent and guilty.
My mom passed away about a month and a half ago from cancer, and I went home last Christmas to see her because we thought she wasn't even going to make it till Christmas. And she told me on the phone before I left, she said, "Oh no, nobody talks about AIDS up here." And I said, "Well, we'll see about that when I get up there, you know." And she said, "Oh no, honey, you can't tell anybody you have AIDS." And I was just so hurt. And I thought, well, you know, you're not ashamed of telling people you have cancer. And that's the thing, if you have cancer, people feel sorry for you. You know, you didn't get it through sex, you know, but with HIV and AIDS, it's a judgment call. People really think it's a behavior thing. And I had never known that my mother, I found out like last week, my sister had told me that she was talking to my mom and saying, you know, poor Linda, here she is, she's so young, and you know, she's had such a hard life, and here she is now, she's, you know, has AIDS. And my mom said, well, she slept with all those people. And I never knew that she felt like that.
Did you know the reason for Peggy doing this video project?
Well, yes, she said she had to deal with some issues in her life, you know, and not only her life, it's other people's lives. You know, it has to do with the effects, how people react to people that are affected with HIV or AIDS and so forth. I think she's basically doing it to bring some awareness, more awareness to this disease.
I think the reason why she asked us to be in the video was because she feels that if we are a spokesperson for the family members, that maybe we'll help other family members because we're sharing our feelings and they may have the same feelings.
When I called Peggy back, she did reveal to me that she was HIV and told me how it happened, and I was very, very upset and, you know, just so sad for her. And again, at the time, I guess my first reaction was, she's HIV, she's going to die, and she's going to die soon, because I didn't know anything about it, just the very simple that I had read in the newspapers. When I called my daughter to tell her about Peggy, and I told her that Peggy was coming to the christening, my daughter, you know, commiserated and said she felt really badly. When my daughter told her husband, his reaction was probably like the masses. He was extremely upset. And not knowing, his first reaction was, no, she's not coming here. She's not coming here with my baby.
When you think of somebody sick or somebody terminal, you get a lot of fear. You can either block it out, which I've done most of my life, or you can do the best you can. I told Peggy I would do anything I could possibly do for her, and I will, you know. I think I've gotten beyond the fact where I don't have to hide, like Barbara said before, we always hid our feelings. I don't have to hide my feelings today.
So I had my older sister tell my dad, and my dad called me up. He's like, well, your older sister just dropped a bomb on me, and I had to call and find out if it was true. You know, my dad doesn't really trust anybody, and he's afraid. He's visiting here right now, and he won't stay with me. He's afraid that if I use the jam spoon and lick it and put it back in the jam and then he uses it, he'll get it. He's afraid that the government only tells you what they want you to know.
Where I came up with some fear was not so much for myself, but in counseling my children, you know, and educating them about it, I was thinking to myself, supposing I'm wrong, you know, supposing, you know, something happened with my children. And at one point my daughter went to visit Peggy in California, and you know, I had to, you know, let go of that fear and let her go.
I hope when you do this you'll open your heart and you'll tell me how you really feel, because I feel like we've had these stilted conversations. And she was very right on about that, because I would call her and it was, hi, what are you doing? How are you feeling? But even along those lines, she would say things like, my T cells are this, or my meds are this, and you know, I never asked her, what does that mean? Even though I got some literature and I read on it, it never occurred to me to say to her, what does this mean in relation to your life expectancy? Does it mean that you're going to die next week, or you're going to die next month? I look back to the way I've lived my whole life and I realize I probably didn't want to know the answer. It was better to pretend that there was going to be a cure found and that she was never going away. And then when our brother died 2 months ago, she gave this incredible eulogy. I went back and I reread all the paperwork that Peggy had sent me from when she testified and the efforts that she made with the healthcare workers. And I realized what a remarkable woman she is. And I never told her.
Have you both been able to date, or what's that life been like?
That has been an incredible process. I mean, I started out not telling anybody for like a really long time into the relationship. And then I went through a period where I was telling them right away, like the minute I met them. And that didn't work either. And then I went through, you know, I mean, I've every possible scenario you can think of, I've done. My experience has been is that I'll meet somebody, we're attracted to each other, there's chemistry there, and we'll start getting to know each other, and then I'll say, you know, I'm HIV positive, and they, at that point, they either run, I mean, not literally, but, you know, they'll go, well, I can't go out with you anymore, or something like that. Either that happens, or they go, well, let's just see, or it's okay, I don't care, or, you know, we can have safe sex, or whatever. And then if it goes on from there, then we sleep together, and then, and this happens all the time, and then they go, what have I done? And then they run.
I've had a couple relationships since finding out, and I remember when, you know, you were saying when you were told you were HIV positive, you thought, I'll never be able to have children. Mm-hmm. For me, it was like, nobody will ever love me. No one will ever want to be with me because I have AIDS. And that told me a lot about what kind of opinion I had of myself. It's like, if I can't have sex with somebody, they're not going to want to be with me. And I got into a relationship with somebody who was HIV negative, and I thought for sure that he wouldn't hang around. I thought, well, I better tell him I'm HIV positive so he can leave. Mm-hmm. And he didn't leave. You know, we were together for about 6 months, and he was really sweet, but I think it got to be too much for him. And that relationship ended. And then I met somebody who was HIV positive, and I thought, oh, here's my mate for life, you know? And we got together, and then he disappeared on me, and rather abruptly, and it really hurt. It was really, you know, because I thought, why would he leave me?